pound it down, load it up and truck it. We gonna do what they say can be done. We've got a long way to go and a short time to get there. I'm eastbound, just watch your bandit run.
All right, this question asked me by a viewer, as you saw in the intro, asked me, have I always done intermodal and what caused me to do this? Well, I have done OTR for quite a while. I used to work for H&R when I first got out of the military. But I didn't really grow up wanting to be a truck driver. I got an uncle and two cousins that are, but my dad wasn't. My dad was a customs officer. He was ex-military, so I grew up wanting to join the military. That's what I wanted to. I sort of kind of fell into truck driving because I was living in Calgary. I was working a really crappy job, but fresh out of the military, didn't even finish high school. And they asked me, "Hey, you want to go to Rank Forest?" That's what I always wanted, so I chased it. So got out after a while, and not too many job descriptions in the civilian world that have to close with and destroy the enemy in. So I found myself with really dead-end jobs. I was working at a car wash in Calgary. I was working at Johnny Rockets as the vacuum guy in the summer and hated it. I was making like $5 an hour and I hated it. Like, you work all day and you make $50 before taxes. Can't live on that. But I noticed in the paper I was always seeing advertisements from recruiters from companies like H&R, Holland Brothers, Mike Vale Trucking, always looking for drivers. So, and a friend of mine upstairs, the apartment I lived in Calgary, was going to truck driving school. He was going to WT Safety. I don't even know if they still exist anymore in Calgary. I really don't know. But I went to that school in '98. Yeah, because I was a private investigator, but it was dead. It was feast and famine, which wasn't a bad job when there was a file to work, but it was famine at the time, and I needed something regular. And one of my friends worked there, and he said, "Nope, having a class 1 is always something good to fall back on. You'll never be in want for a job if you have a class 1. So I went to WT Safety. I got a student loan from the province to pay for it, which had been paid back a long time ago, to pay for my license. And I started OTR with H&R Transport. I was OTR with H&R, and then I went to Armour Brothers Transport in Winnipeg. I was OTR. I went from refrigerated to dry van. Then my cousin got me in a company where he worked doing flatbed for 40 cents a mile. That was a huge jump, going up from 28, 30 cents a mile to 40 cents a mile. Huge pay jump. I didn't have enough experience. They wanted 3 years and I had just a little over 2. But he bugged them, and he was with them for like almost the very start of the company. So he bugged them and bugged them and bugged them and got me in. So I worked there for 3 years, and then I had a mutual disagreement with the owner's son. I called him a two-faced liar that wouldn't tell the truth and hit him upside the head with a board, and he disagreed with me. So we had a parting ways there. I could go back. That was like over 10 years, about 10 years ago. He probably doesn't even remember it. I probably could go back if I wanted to. The pay's still really good there. And what did I do? I was working for a company called Coolorbeck. He went TU. I haven't seen his trucks in over 5 years. But anyway, I think he went tits up. So because he went tits up, I can tell you exactly what he did. We would pick up at Sharing Plow Pharmaceuticals, and we would bring that to Sharing Plow in Memphis, Tennessee. I'd leave Montreal Monday and deliver on Wednesday morning. Pick up at Elvis Presley Boulevard, or Elvis Presley Drive, I think it's called. Just around the corner from Graceland, I'd pick up a water treatment plant, water treatment chemicals, in these great big bins, tank things, and I would bring those to Vaudreuil. back to here, back to Montreal, and for the water treatment plants here in Montreal. And then I do it again the following week. It was, I leave Monday, back Friday afternoon. Friday, when truck was parked Friday dinner time. And I was home every weekend. Good job. I don't know what happened, because I decided I want to be an owner-operator, and I want to do local LTL as an owner-op for Central Transport. If the name sounds familiar, especially if you're down in the States, I'm not surprised, because they're still pretty big. I don't know if they're still owner-operators in the United States, but in Canada they no longer are. I was actually doing quite well when they decided, no, we're not doing any more 401 corridor, which was 80% of what we did. US bound freight only, which is, so I pretty much went from making $2,000 a week to $200. So here's the keys back to the truck. Sayonara. So then I started doing 5-ton with a company called True. That's the one where I got in the fist fight with the guy in the elevator. That was a while ago too. Then got tired of doing that. There was an opportunity back home up in Northern Ontario, where I'm from, up in Timmins, a company called Northwest Transport. And it was bush hauling. We'd go 70 kilometers up into the bush, up to the Montcalm mine. I'm going to tell you this because the mine is closed, because a couple of the drifts, but it was stope mining, so there was no head frame. You just drive into the stope and haul the raw ore out. I wasn't going underground, I was mainly surface. And one of the major drifts collapsed. So they shut that mine down. So then I needed another job. So then I started going back OTR. I went with Transax. Started with line haul division, then went to regional, which I hated. I should have stayed with line haul. And became a city driver in Montreal here. A lot of my friends were leaving and going working for other companies, so it was a time to get, well, the getting was good, so I went to go work for Canadian Tire. Driving a Canadian Tire truck. I was working for an agency, and he was injured, so I said, yeah, he's off on WCB, he's off on compensation. Don't worry, when he comes back, you'll still have a job here, blah, 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 blah. Bullshit. He goes back from his CSST leave from his workers' compensation. Oh, sorry, we don't have a truck for you. We don't have any work. We don't have enough work for you. We're going to have to let you go. Ah. So I learned something there. Never work for an agency. Well, and I was, the reason why I got this job, it was one of those, like, I'm looking in the paper. Where did I find it? I think the government website where I found this. Yeah, government website. Yeah, that's where I found it, on the job board. So I found this, I went to go talk to Alfred, and that was 3 years ago, and I've done intermodal before with I've done intermodal before with Transax, so I was already registered for CP, I was already registered for CN, and I already knew the positions, I already knew where everything was. I didn't need to be trained, because I already knew where everything was. I already had a lot of experience doing intermodal. So it was something I never really went out looking for, but sort of stumbled into it. Would I like to go back OTR? Oh yes, I would. I would like to go back OTR, yeah. My wife and I are thinking about doing it. Doing a lease purchase with a company based out of Southern Ontario. Doing Montreal to out west to Calgary, Vancouver, and then going down to the southern states, like California, Texas, and coming back. We're looking at that probably the end of this summer or next year sometime, but we're looking into it to see if it's feasible. But yeah, that's how I got into doing trucking and intermodal. I never really, it's not that I don't want to do it, because I like it, and but I never grew up wanting to be a truck driver. I grew up wanting to be a soldier, and I did that, and I got out, and I should listen to my dad, my dad was in the Army and my dad was in the Air Force, because he rebadged from infantry, which was what I was light infantry, and to Air Force. And my dad always said, don't go in the Army, go in the Air Force. The Army is a bunch of effing cement heads, and he's right. Because I got a bunch of friends of mine who are also now in the Air Force, and they're telling me, oh, the difference between the Army and the Air Force is night and day. Less politics, less bullshit. It's just a different mentality in the Air Force compared to the Army, which now I told him, I wish my dad was still alive, because I could told him, yeah, you were right. I should have gone in the Air Force. I'd still be in. I'd be retired like this year. I'd be retired. Fully pensioned off. 20 years in the armed forces and a lot less politics, and which is one of the reasons why I got out of the Army, because I was sick of the politics and the chicken shit and the favoritism, because it wasn't what you knew, it was totally who you know. It was one big popularity contest. Everyone's sucking up to the sergeants and the warrants and the officers. Everyone's sucking up to Senior Joes, and especially if you were on the hockey team. Well, if you're on the hockey team, well, you got all the good courses and all the good postings and all that stuff because you played hockey. I got tired of bullshit. Not tired of it. And anyway, I do miss it. I miss the camaraderie. Don't miss the bullshit, but I miss the camaraderie. Anyway, I hope that answers your questions. And now, always, if you have any questions, feel free to either private message me on my Facebook page, or in one of the in the comment box just below, and I will answer it as best I can when I have a chance to get to it. So, as always, hit that like button and that subscribe button, because it always helps. And